Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to this quick mini review of the Doctor Who minisode, A Fix With Sontarans, which originally aired as a segment of an episode of Jim Will Fix It, a programme that featured one of our most controversial figures in British media, a certain Mr. Jimmy Savile. And this is a very controversial and touchy subject because of the sex scandal that came out about the guy after his passing in 2012. And yeah, it's now become a very touchy subject. And DVD prints of the Two Doctors up with its original release has this little segment on DVD. However, from early 2014 onwards, they've removed it. So anyone who's got a printing of the Two Doctors from January 2014 onwards will not have this little segment, and it's also not available on YouTube anymore. You can find the video online. There's a link to from a Wikipedia page of the short to an article from about Colin Baker's comments on Mr. Savile, and you can watch the short minus a little bit at the start and a little bit at the end that you can watch on the DVD, which is pretty much at least the start anyway, with the introduction from Jimmy and the letter from Gareth Jenkins, who you should totally follow on Twitter, by the way. Very funny description. Gareth, if you're watching, great stuff, man, great stuff. And yeah, so Fix With Sontarans. This review is focused on what a Fix With Sontarans is, rather than who hosted the program it was a segment on. I'm not here to talk about Jimmy Savile, apart from when I need to. I'm not here to slate this short just because Mr. Savile appears at the very end and it's part of his show, and also very start with the introduction. But yeah, I'm just focusing on the short as it is and not what it was part of. And I think that's what people are missing with this. I think quite a lot of people are forgetting that Mr. Savile did all of these nasty things outside of this short, and this short has kind of become one of these things that kind of got affected by it, and because of that, no one wants to watch it. But I think it is a piece of Doctor Who that you should maybe at least check out, just for it's a piece of interest, curiosity. That's it, out of curiosity, a bit like with the 1954 James Bond Casino Royale. It's a bit like that. It's a curiosity. You should check it out if you want to. Definitely recommended, even if you don't end up liking it. So, how is the Fix of Sontaran on its own without any of this baggage that's holding it back since 2012? Interesting, to say the least. For starters, you got the Sixth Doctor, no Perry because Nicola Bryant wasn't available. His TARDIS has somehow been invaded by the same two Sontaran actors who played Sontarans when this short was broadcast as a segment on Jim Will Fix It. It was shown the same day as the Two Doctors Part 2. I think it was afterwards, actually. And it had the same two actors from that story in it. I guess they decided to use the Sontarans because it was just easier, and they were appearing in that week's Doctor Who. And they could get the actors in, and they had the same costumes. But yeah, the TARDIS has been invaded by two Sontarans. One of them, I can't believe it. But of all the Sontaran names, one of them, the leader, is called Nathan. Is the other one called Eric? Or Sayward? Sontaran Nathan. Grand Marshal Nathan. Was that a dig at John Nathan Turner? Was it named after him? Hence why I asked if the other one was called Eric or Sayward, because that'd be named after Eric Sayward, the script editor, who actually wrote this minisode, which makes sense. He was the script editor. It's like Stephen Moffat writing a Children in Need special in 2010 to 2017, or Russell T Davies writing one in 2005 to 10, although Stephen Moffat did write the 2007 one. But yeah, it's like the showrunner writing a minisode for. I think actually Russell T Davies did write a minisode for. Oh, well, I don't know if it was Russell or someone from, but someone wrote a minisode for a program called Tonight's the Night, hosted by John Barrowman. I'm wondering if Russell wrote that one, and it's a bit like that. If he did, then it's a bit like that. If not, it's a bit like him or Stephen writing a Children Need or Red Nose Day minisode. Who wrote the Sarah Jane Adventures 2009 Red Nose Day minisode then? But yeah, and the Doctor accidentally beams up Tegan because Perry couldn't be here, so he beams up Tegan, so Janet Fielding returns, and she does a really good job with her scenes, and Tegan actually has a few Sixth Doctor moments where she's like, fetch a box! Fetch a box! One of those bits, and actually she does it really funny and really entertaining, and it's great seeing her back, and Tegan gets to meet the Sixth Doctor. It's always a plus, just like how the Brigadier met the Sixth Doctor in Dimensions in Time. Although no actual proper TV story, and if you discount these two from continuity, I don't know if Tegan actually has met the Sixth Doctor. And for Brigadier, if you count Big Finish, then Spectre of Langton Moor, I believe the story is, when you meet him. Maybe there's some books before that, because that ordeal was about 2000 or 2001. 2000, I think, yeah, 2000. So if there's any books between 1986, 87 and 2000, then they might count. But yeah, it's great to see Tegan here, and the Doctor explains the situation to her, but then she accidentally resets the matter transmitter, so someone who the Doctor hopes could help them, someone brave and smart, who could help them, come to their rescue. And then we get Gareth Jenkins aboard the TARDIS. This is his special, after all, the special where he gets to meet Colin Baker. And him in his wonderful costume that his grandmother made him. That is a fantastic costume. Well done, Gareth Jenkins Gran. That is possibly the best costume based on a Doctor's costume. Not to slag off any cosplays, they do fantastic jobs as well. Some of them are super dedicated, and I think this is one of the best examples of that. That costume's a 10 out of 10. Just the costume alone. It's just so good, and it's super similar to Colin Baker's. If you go back to another Children Need new series example, we get a very good costume replica for Anna for the 2018 Children Need special, based on Jodie Whittaker's costume. That is also a fantastic costume. So it's something like that. It's fantastic. Costume alone, this story would be a 10 out of 10. However, there's more than costumes to this story, and the costumes in this story are really well done. But my God, Gareth Jenkins' Gran should get an Oscar for costuming for that one. It's so good. So good. And eventually Gareth then helps the Sixth Doctor. I mean, he and Tegan aren't really sure at first, but then Gareth proves himself really worthy. And yeah, it's really great having this fan aboard the TARDIS, having fun with the Doctor, getting to press some buttons with the TARDIS and trying to bring out these Sontarans and then defeating them at the very end. And yeah, the Sontarans, they're a bit comedic in this story, but I'm going to let that slide. And also the issues that I had from two Doctors about the Sontarans are back with them being too tall, despite some great acting, and the costumes and masks actually okay. They're okay. I mean, they're not that great, but better than the Invasion of Time masks, and they're better actors than the Invasion of Time actor. Although I do think the best costumes and actors of classic Sontarans were Kevin Lindsay and the Lynx costume, although his Sontaran Experiment one was also good. Although the best Sontaran costumes and the best Sontaran actors were still yet to come. What is it? It's 1985. I'll give it about 23 years and a 2008 David Tennant story. And you'll get the best actors and best Sontaran costumes. I'm looking at you, Sontaran Stratagem. But yeah, just give it 8 seasons and 23 years. And 5 Doctors if you count John Hurt. But yeah, negatives are the same as 2 Doctors, plus the fact they're more played for laughs here in this story. Well, 2 Doctors was a bit more of a serious story. This one's a bit more funny because it's for Jim Will Fix It. It's for this fan. It's supposed to be a bit more lighthearted than the more serious 2 Doctors, even though that was broadcast first. Although the death scene of the Sontarans that's come in part 3, we get a sort of a death scene not too dissimilar to that. They're quite similar. Just apart from how it happens. It's the chloride gas again that kills the Sontarans, and they have this gooey stuff coming out of them, and it's really well shot and edited, that bit, as well, to be honest. In fact, this story is decently directed and decently executed and quite well edited. It's a good piece of short film. It's good in the execution department. That being particularly is really well handled. But yeah, Sontaran's a bit more played for laughs here. That and the negatives from Two Doctors come back here, although the positives from Two Doctors are also here. Plus the fact that they're a bit more funny also makes them a bit more enjoyable. When they have some good banter in some places where they talk to the Doctor, Tegan, and Gareth about a future event where Gareth Jenkins, or a Gareth Jenkins anyway, led a resistance against the Sontaran invasion on Earth in the year 2001. Yeah, Sontaran invasion being the world-changing event in 2001 is probably something people would probably prefer over the actual world-changing event that took place around this time in 2001. Yeah, you might actually have had less deaths. God, the real world sucks sometimes, doesn't it? But anyway, moving on. But yeah, the Doctor is able to push the Sontarans away by pushing the gun out of, well, not out of the gun's hand, but up away, and Gareth is able to press a button on the TARDIS to release this gas that kills the Sontarans the same way that in part 3 of Two Doctors, Jacini and Dastari do. Why the Doctor has that gas there, and how, well, Gareth says he's seen the Doctor do it on TV, but I don't think we ever saw that story, a story where the Doctor actually pressed a button and gas came out of the side of the TARDIS console, the bottom bit. Hey, it's a funny short special. I'll let it slide. But why the Doctor has it there in the first place, I don't know. Maybe if he has a storeroom, that would make sense. But of course, it's only the one set for this story. But yeah, but it ends on a good note. Good stuff. Oh wait, Mr. Savile pops up at the very end to give Gareth his medal, and the Sixth Doctor Colin Baker, I should say, congratulates him on the event. And yeah, in this scene, I can see Colin Baker's a little bit uncomfortable, as he later says in his statement in 2012. He does look a little uncomfortable, but staying professional and staying a little in character, and even gives Gareth a Sontaran gun as another present. What a very nice man. I don't know if Gareth got to keep the gun, but Colin, certainly very nice guy, giving it to him anyway, even if it was just part of the story, or if it was just for this short. But yeah, whether Gareth was allowed to keep the gun, that was just a very nice gesture, even if it was scripted. But yeah, but with him and Mr. Savile, yeah, it does look like he is uncomfortable. Janet Fielding seems fine with him, so I wonder what her statement was. I actually don't know if she ever made a statement about him. Same with Gareth. But yeah, let's put that to the side. Although the Doctor does consider Mr. Savile quite monstrous when they first see him on the TARDIS screen. Tegan calls him hideous as well, and then he comes on board. It's actually quite funny, to be honest. I mean, if you take away all the stuff that we've heard of him since 2012, it's actually quite funny. And you know, before the whole scandal came out, it probably would be seen as quite, it's light-hearted, it's quite fun, it's enjoyable. Yeah. It's just that the problems have come since the scandals coming to light since 2012, and yeah, that's what's caused all the problems. And I don't want this story to kind of fall under take any rap for that, just because Mr. Savile makes appearances here, one at the start and one at the end, and it's part of his show. I don't want this story to take the rap for that. I don't want it to be chucked in the bin, forgotten about, discarded just because of that. It's like that. In The Predator, there was a deleted scene where a friend of Shane Black was going to cameo, and he was a known sex offender, and Olivia Munn, who played the main female character in that film, brought it up, and so the scene was cut by the studio. Does that mean, because that's now come to light, and Shane Black has apologised, of course, but with that coming to light, that guy has cameoed in a few other Shane Black films since being released after his during time. Does that mean they're now going to cut scenes with him in future prints of the films? Such as with Iron Man 3, I know which character he's playing, and he has one of the best lines in the film. He has one of the best moments in the scenes, one of the best bits. Does that mean future prints of that film are going to cut that scene out, or at least those few seconds? No, I don't think they will, but it's the question worth posing. Is it because such and such, so and so does this? Does that mean such and such needs cutting, removing? No, it shouldn't. Apart from the Predator, because Olivia Munn felt uncomfortable with it. But yeah, but before it came to light, I mean, stuff that before it came to light. So yeah, I don't think you should completely discard this story with this minisode without checking it out first. I mean, maybe afterwards if you don't like it, fine. And if you don't like it just because Jimmy Savile, well, just try and focus on the bits without him. Like I said, the Daily Mail article has the video it skips the start of it where he's reading the letter from Gareth and introducing the story. Although you should know about Gareth, his codes were from the letter, and so why he asks Cindy when he's on board the TARDIS, I don't know. And at the end, you can just stop it after Gareth and the Doctor and Tegan have just defeated the Sontarans. You can stop it then. But yeah, this short is actually quite fun, and if you disclude any of that stuff you've heard about Mr. Savile since this story's been, since that's all come to light, if you just discount all of that, this is actually a good short. This is actually quite a fun short, and I think it's quite enjoyable. So I do recommend checking out, more for curiosity's sake. If you do get upset about the Jimmy Savile stuff, just skip those bits and just watch the Doctor, Tegan, and Gareth fighting Sontarans. Those bits are harmless. And that's most of the short, because that's supposed to be the short. That was the whole point of it. So, yeah, because I'm discluding the Jimmy Savile stuff, I am going to pass this short as a fun, enjoyable, light piece of fluff. If you just ignore the Jimmy Savile sex scandal stuff, if you just ignore all of that, just focus on what the short story is, and yeah, unless Mr. Savile actually sexually abused Gareth whilst on set or afterwards or beforehand, unless he actually did that, then otherwise just take it away from the short and just let us talk about it as a short, like a mini special, like we would say Time Crash, for example. Just let us talk about it normally. And I've pretty much been doing that. I hope more people will in the future, and not just talk about the sex scandal stuff and how it affects the whole story. No, unless Gareth Jenkins was sexually abused, it doesn't. I hope he wasn't. If Gareth Jenkins is watching, please let me know. But unless that actually happened, we shouldn't be so harsh on this. He made an advert for the Intercity 125 trains as well. Yeah, there was a documentary about that where we discovered that. I didn't say what you like about him now, but at the time he was the most popular. He was one of the most popular people on TV. That's why they got him. At least that's what the documentary said. And the same could be said for here. Make a scenario if, what's his name? The guy who hosts Deal No Deal. Noel Edmonds. If Noel Edmonds after his passing, had turned out to be a sexual predator, Dimensions in Time would get the bad rap. Would get a bad rap because he appears at the very start, introducing the 2 episodes of that. He gets it because of Noel's house party. He'd get a bad rap. I'm not saying he is. I'm saying this is a scenario. And it's the exact same thing here. Although Dimensions in Time gets a bad rap anyway. But okay, but you get the point. So I'm going to give a Fix With Sontarans a 6 out of 10. Just critiquing it as a minisode and nothing to do with the scandal stuff. Just critiquing it as a minisode. Just as a Doctor Who minisode that could easily have been a Children Need special or a Red Nose Day special or just or a DVD extra like we get in new series. Just a minisode. Just judging it as a minisode and putting the other stuff aside. And even when Mr. Savile is on screen, I'm putting it to the side for the purposes of story. And that's what I want more people to take away from this. I want more people to judge A Fix With Sontarans as a minisode and not part of this scandal. Yes, what Mr. Savile did was extremely horrible, but I don't want this minisode to be too affected by that, because it's a small minisode. It's a light piece of fluff entertainment. Shouldn't be bogged down in all of this, even with the guy who's hosting the show. It's making an appearance on, and it's a nice little nice little crossover at the very end, for the time anyway. So yeah, Fix With Sontarans. It's fun. It's enjoyable. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's fun. So yeah, anyway, that's it from me. Thank you for watching. Didn't turn out to be a short review after all, did it? But yeah, that's my review of Fix With Sontarans, and I'll see you guys next time for we're back onto the actual television stories with Time Lash, which I have right here. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. So if there was any books between 1986 and 1990, sorry, and then it turned, but I'm going to let that slide because the main issue, because the issue, but yeah, but besides that, positives are the same as from Doc. In fact, this story's decently edited and yeah, honestly, I think more people would probably have preferred an alien invasion happening in 2001 than some form of world change. But he had been he was a known sexual predator, or at least, well, sort of, or not predator, FN, who was one of the like in Iron Man 3, he actually had one of the best scenes in that film. One of the best lines in from the and at the end you can just stop it when Gareth turns off if you just ignore all of that. So it's like let's make a scenario if dimensions of time. So anyway, a Fix With Sontarans on its own without all of the scandal stuff. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Of course, the scandal, because what Mr. Savile does, actually I think I'll give it a 6. Okay, I'll swap it with the 7. I don't think it's good enough to be a 7. Actually, so 7 will go in the bloopers.